I'm a believer that if you need a tool, you start talking about the tool and talking to your friends, and you're going to find the tool. That's how it works with anvils, and that's how it worked with this 20-inch Grizzly planer. I needed a wider planer. I talked to my friends, and one of them said, well, I know a guy with a 20-inch, and sure enough, I made a deal. I went up and talked to George, $800. It's what he wanted. Seemed like a nice price. It needs a little bit of TLC. I brought it home. That coincided with having just put a Shelix head in this DeWalt. I did kind of a half-hearted review on that. I didn't do that good. I really like the Shelix in this, mostly because it's quieter. It's just quieter. And so if you got mad at me for putting a Shelix for having Bird Tools experts send me a free Shelix for this, you're really going to be disgusted because those guys sent me a 20-inch Shelix head to put in that. Thank you, Bird Tools. If it's as much better in terms of noise in that one as it was in this one, my ears are going to thank you. Let's unbox this thing and see what it looks like. Oh yeah, we're about to get in. Wow, look at that. That is a beast. Look at that thing. Can't wait to see how that slips into the bearings. All right, hopefully I won't have to take these bits off to get this thing into that head. But there's a lot of inertia in a head that size. That thing's got to weigh 60 pounds if it weighs an ounce. All right, let's see if we're smart enough to put this thing in. So Pat from Oregon Tool called me about a week ago and said they were ready to work on my planer. I had taken it in about a month and a half ago because they are busy around there and they can't just drop everything and solve everybody's problem right away. But they solve everybody's problem eventually, and today is the day that they get to solve the problem that I've got with getting this great, big, sharp Shelix cutter head in that old Grizzly planer. Can't wait to see how he does this. So we've been down here before. I come down here a lot. I don't know what I would do if this town didn't have a tool store like this. Look at this. Morning, fellers.
Morning.
So this is our project for today. They've been storing it here for me for about a month, waiting for their schedule to open up because these boys are busy. But this whole thing is going to make a good planer. See that? I don't know how much that thing weighs. These guys were the first to market, I think 30 years ago. The Bird family came up with the idea of the helical cutter head. What a leap forward.
So now we're going to expose the cutter head.
Just so we can get to it.
So it's... Alright, now we're going to pull the cover off and take the belts off to have that done and out of the way.
Now in my shop I would have already lost that knob.
Yeah, the bottom pulley bolt and stuff is loose and all that, so we'll have to look at that and take care of that too.
Single link roller chain, is that what we call that?
Yes.
Oh, gears are cool. So when I was first thinking of putting this cutter head in myself, I came down to Oregon Tool to talk to Pat because he's been here about 10 years and he knows every move. And about 2 minutes into the conversation, it hit me. I've just got to have Pat do this. So I had to wait, and it was worth the wait because he knows every single move. And besides that, you need to know every single move and not just the half-hearted attempt that I would make on my own. So even though this video is an overview, we will have the video that encompassed every moment. It's over an hour, actually, in the Essential Craftsman Academy. If you go to the website, you can check that out if you ever need to actually put one of these things in a machine anywhere near like this one. But on the other hand, if you are mechanically inclined and like to do small projects on smaller machines like this, There might be enough information in this very video that you do not even have to check out the full-length video that we have over there.
Now you just got to remember, okay, this came out of the lower right corner.
Okay.
All right, so now all the bolts are out. There's 2 alignment pins in here
Okay.
that we gotta get it off of, and the gears, the bearings on the gears and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay? You want me to have one of the kids?
If you do this right, you can get this sill to move down out of the way.
Hey, Dallas.
Okay, so you can reuse it.
Please.
Yeah, so you can possibly reuse it
Okay, so it's cracked loose a little, huh?
a little bit on that corner. So now I'm just going to work my way.
It's a very cute hammer.
Sometimes you don't need
Power. You
big
just need-
stuff.
Yeah.
You need a finesse.
Yep. It's really neat. You're winning.
Yep, just gotta kind of go slow and gentle. We'll see if we can. Just gotta work it back and forth. Still got one spot that's not letting go. And a little more.
Okay, that thing's been fighting you. Looks like you're about home.
Yep. You just got to find the correct.
Find out where the
to-
bind is. Look at that.
Yep.
Swiss watch.
And these were trying to come out instead of this one in the back.
I see.
This here was the one catching and keeping.
Okay.
And it has to come out as an assembly, not.
Pile of parts.
And this gearbox looks really good inside.
Nice.
I don't see a bunch of metal shavings on the bottom or anything, so.
Hooray. How long you had this store, Milo?
42 years.
42
since I started
years.
Oregon Tool and Supply in 1983.
I remember my dad telling me he had trucks, that he was stopping by a little tool store out on Diamond Lake. Greg Wadsworth had Aldred Brothers Peeler Coral Hauling.
Yep. It's pretty cool. I mean, I love seeing generation after generation come in here.
Yeah. Well, you got your own generations in here. Your daughter
Yep,
works here.
Both daughters
Both
and the
daughters.
grandsons up there.
I see the grandsons riding their scooters around.
Yep, they're learning about a tool store.
That's neat.
Another generation. Pretty cool. I'm proud of what we do here.
Yeah, it's a great store, man. It's a
Thank
great
you.
store. So, when did it crack over from being the strain of starting a new business to thinking, yep, this is going to work?
Well, the day that I came to work and I refunded a $40 air tool about a month after I started and did not sell a single thing, and I closed the door 10 hours later with 40 bucks in the hole, I was wondering, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Well, I just stick it out. Percentages are in my favor.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot since then. So it was probably a couple of years into it. I realized, hey, maybe this might be something I might want to do for a little bit longer.
Awesome.
And next thing you know, it's 42 years
42
later.
years is all
42 years
done.
later.
Taking apart this gearbox is an excellent example of why, for me, it was smarter and way cheaper to let somebody do it who actually knows how. There's more than a little finesse involved with nudging the face of this gearbox off because it's attached to all these super tight gears. And knowing when to use a little hammer and when to use a big hammer and when to hit it hard and when to go easy can make the difference between success, failure, and hundreds of dollars. One of the things that I appreciated as the day wore on, and it took us, I was in there, 3 or 4 hours because the camera slows everything down, is that Pat was patient with the camera. And I asked him about that because a lot of people just freak right out. And he said it was no big deal because 10 years in the Air Force doing aircraft maintenance, every move is a life safety move when you're working on an aircraft. He said that cameras were everywhere for security in the operation and security to make sure that everything was done and it could, the steps could be retraced. And Oregon Tool has got cameras everywhere for security because, sadly, people will steal. And so he said that my camera work didn't bother him, but I still tried to stay out of the way. And you might notice the same thing I noticed, that his tools were not that specialized. They were tools that almost everybody has in almost every shop, including the blocks of wood. You'll notice 2 or 3 little blocks of wood. They were not for decoration. They were not to keep things from rolling around. They were a vital part of the process. Sometimes it is the simplest, low-tech solutions that provide the most utility and make your job the easiest. Or at least that's how it was today. Pat suddenly sort of focused a little tighter and got a lot more serious when that new Helix head cutter came out. And he was emphatic about how sharp those little bits are. He was emphatic about don't touch this thing without gloves on. And he had plenty to say about the gloves that he uses, the mistakes he's made in the past, and how easy it is to begin to leave a blood trail when you're putting in something as sharp as one of these Helix helical cutter heads. So that bearing's the last critical piece to be replaced, right?
Yes. And then it's back together. And we still have to address the bottom pulley of what's going on with that.
Okay.
Hammer and tap out the bearing. And this bearing has a catch in it. It's
a rough spot.
Really rough and bad. So I'm not worried about trying to save it for future use.
Okay. It's toast. So it's one thing to have the biggest, baddest, most well-stocked tool store in this part of the West Coast. And it's quite another to have the best tool repair shop in this part of the West Coast. So anyhow, Milo, thank you.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate you a lot.
And thank you. And you never wasted a move.
We're here to help.
Yes, you are. So as you can tell, this video just hits the high spots about how to actually do this job because it just would have been too long. But that video, like I mentioned, exists, and it's in the Essential Craftsman Academy. It's on our website. Check it out, because even if you just plug into our program for a month or two, you're going to get your money's worth out of that one Helix cutter head install video, not to mention all the other stuff and shop talk and everything else that we do. A lot of good information there. But as I wrap this up, I got to tell you, this cutter head is fantastic. It's as smooth as glass. It doesn't take much power even to plane this 20-inch wide, well, 19-inch wide, half of my bench top. Came out with no snipe, no chatter, no chips, no nothing. Just a powerhouse, smooth planer, thanks to the cutter head from Helix and Bird Tools experts. And thanks also to Pat and Milo and the gang down at Oregon Tool. Well, it's a relief. And I'm delighted. It's good to have this in here. I got a couple little things to sand out. I don't want to take this down anymore. A scraper and a sander will take care of that. Little putty, little paint. It's going to be a wooden anvil. That's what we wanted. Anyhow, the bench is just about done. And it would not have been done like this without the Helix cutter head. First one, Bird Tools expert sent me in my little DeWalt. What a game changer. And now this ginormous thing and that old Grizzly made a brand new planer out of it. So thank you, Bird Tools experts. You helped me. Dylan, you're a pro. And thank you, Oregon Tool. Pat, you're a maestro. No wonder that's such a great repair shop. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman. And keep up the good work.